what's going on at the college level and the colleges, Columbia, NYU, and others, is a disgrace. And it's really on Biden. He has the wrong signal. He's got the wrong tone. He's got the wrong words. He doesn't know who he's backing. And it's a mess.
There was former President Trump speaking outside of the New York City courthouse yesterday, blaming President Biden for the nationwide anti-Israel protests breaking out on college campuses. House Speaker Mike Johnson will be meeting with Jewish students today at Columbia University. He is going to the university later today. The school has said it has made progress negotiating with protesters who've been camped out for days, claiming they've agreed to take down some tents and remove protesters who are not affiliated with the school. Joining me now is South Carolina Congresswoman Nancy Mace. She is a member of the House Armed Services Oversight and Veterans Affairs Committees. Congresswoman, great to see you. Thanks so much for being here this morning.
Good morning.
What do you think about this?
Thank you for having me, Maria.
What do you think about this? I mean, now you've got Mike Johnson going. What is Mike Johnson going to do speaking to Jewish students?
Well, showing that we support Israel, showing that we support the Jewish community, and I represent in Charleston, South Carolina, one of the most historic Jewish communities in the country. And I agree wholeheartedly with President Donald Trump's comments that Joe Biden's actions or lack thereof have encouraged much of the anti-Semitism that we're seeing around college campuses today. We have Jews in our community in South Carolina that are afraid to walk out of their house. And it was just 200 days ago that Hamas butchered and burned alive moms, dads, and babies. Then Hamas paraded those bodies through the streets. And here you have Joe Biden not saying a whole lot about it. In fact, locking arms just a few days ago with the leader of the pro-Hamas caucus, AOC. What he's doing and saying isn't showing, I believe, much support for the Jewish community. This should not be happening. We should be showing support for Jews. Jews should be able to go to school. They should be able to go to college without fear of retribution because of their faith. It's really disgusting.
I mean, it is disgusting. And how much are these people getting empowered by the comments coming out of the White House and from Chuck Schumer's office? I mean, give me a break. It was less than a month ago that Chuck Schumer stood on the Senate floor and said that he wanted to see new elections and he wanted Benjamin Netanyahu out, that he no longer serves the people of Israel. And then the next day you got Joe Biden saying, oh, it was a great speech that Chuck Schumer made, and saying that we are unhappy with the way Israel is dealing with this, making Israel the bad guy, forcing them to do a ceasefire, even though you haven't had a word about any hostage release. So how much of the tone was already set because of Joe Biden and the administration?
Joe Biden and the administration absolutely set the tone. And also, in addition to that, Maria, Joe Biden and his administration warned the world what the U.S. was not going to do if Israel retaliated, literally giving Iran and Hamas and Hezbollah and the Houthis the U.S. playbook before, Israel did anything. And so you can't say you support Israel one day and then bash Israel's leader the next. And basically Joe Biden is bending a knee to the Hamas wing of the Democrat Party. They exist. They feel empowered. They feel emboldened because of the way Joe Biden has handled this situation.
And meanwhile, I guess you all lost your leverage at this point, didn't you? The Senate passed a $95 billion foreign aid package, which provides money for Ukraine, Gaza, Israel, and Taiwan. The bill includes legislation forcing TikTok's Chinese parent company, ByteDance, to sell the app or face a ban in the markets. President Biden claims he's going to sign this bill today, Congresswoman. Now what? You go for the rest of this legislative period until May, then you go into the summertime, and we got an election in November. No more closing up the border, I guess, huh? No more security at the border.
Right. Well, what we saw is that Joe Biden and the left and others prefer to ban TikTok over shutting down our border. We did lose our leverage. There were some really great bills. Even Brian Fitzpatrick out of Pennsylvania had a bill that would have curbed 80% of the illegal crossings just by reinstating Title 42 and remain in Mexico. There are a lot of great ideas. I had a bill that I wanted to have amended to a border bill last week, and that was the violence against women by illegal aliens. If you've raped or assaulted a woman and you're here illegally, you should be sent home immediately deported. I couldn't get that as an amendment on the border bill last week. And so, I think there's some frustration there, and I agree with that frustration. And we need to make sure that we place the blame for the wide open border where it sits, and that's with Joe Biden. The first day he was sworn into office, he literally reversed all of the good border policies of Donald Trump's presidency that kept our nation safe. Donald Trump had over 550 miles of wall built along along our southern border. Joe Biden has done nothing to secure the border or keep our communities safe, and every town's become a border town, as you know, Maria.
Look, people are scratching their heads as to why the Republicans cannot move the needle on any of this stuff, why it is that it seems like the Republicans are always in the losing position. Now, House Speaker Mike Johnson's office says that the Senate will not allow a vote on any border security legislation this year. They say the only way to solve the border crisis is to elect Trump for president in November. Congressman, we've got 8 months. It only took 19 hijackers to go and take down the Trade Center. What could happen in 8 months while you all lost the leverage and there's no new security, and now the Democrats will not allow a vote of any kind for security at the border? And by the way, why not?
Well, and look, we just sent over articles of impeachment to impeach Secretary Mayorkas, and they're going to sit in Chuck Schumer's drawer in the Senate. He's not going to do anything about that. He's going to allow this administration and Joe Biden to continue to lie about what's going on at the border, leave that border wide open. You know, and I agree that the only thing that's going to change is Donald Trump getting elected. He can fix this problem. We need the American people to know where the fault lies. We did H.R. 2 in May of last year with the strongest, toughest border bill to come out of the House, drafted by Republicans. We did the Homeland Security Appropriations bill to secure the border. Just last weekend, we voted on another border bill, the third massive comprehensive border security bill that Chuck Schumer will continue to ignore. This is Schumer's problem. This is Joe Biden's problem, and we need to articulate to the American people we are doing that work. We are passing legislation. I've drafted my own border bills, and you can go to nancymace.org and read about that legislation, and nothing's happening with any of it, and it's disgusting.
So you try to get an amendment in there that basically says if you rape a woman, you're going to have to go back, and you couldn't get any support for it.
Correct, because they said it wasn't ruled in order. It wasn't germane to the border security bill last weekend. This is the kind of crap in D.C. that we deal with. It's wrong. And as you know, I've told my story a lot. I'm a survivor. I do a lot to protect women. I want to do my job to protect women and protect the border. It's a very easy, very germane, very common sense bill and amendment, and I couldn't even get it on the floor for a vote.
That's disgusting. But let me ask you this, because it feels to me like the Democrats, one reason that they always or oftentimes beat the Republicans because they all stay in line. They all agree, okay? There's not all these factions, and there's not all this fighting with it, or maybe they just hide it. Maybe there is, but they don't let you see it. But at the end of the day, when they want to get their agenda through, they all get in line and they agree. Do you think maybe the Republicans can learn something from that, or no?
Absolutely. And you've talked about unifying the Republican Party and how we need to come together if we want to win the White House, if we want to maintain the majority in the House and flip the Senate. And I do agree with that. And I've been in private meetings with different factions, with leadership, and I see the circular firing squad that we put on our own people. And there are factions within our party that refuse to allow border security legislation tied to Ukraine last weekend. They made a lot of threats behind the scenes. And that's why that backroom deal was made, to not allow border security to be tied to Ukraine. I've seen our own party sabotage really good legislation, really good bills, really good amendments. It's sad to see, but unfortunately I have a front row seat. It's why I get in trouble sometimes, because I speak out about these things, but I want the American people to know the truth.
So do you really think that the Republicans can make a difference just because you have a new president, because you have someone in the White House who will make it happen? I mean, if you still face the Democrats leading the Senate, or if they take over the House, you're still going to have these problems. At the end of the day, it's the American people who are the losers.
Well, absolutely. I do believe in Donald Trump. If he is to win the White House, I believe you'll see a lot to be different and to change on the Hill in Congress. None of this stuff was happening. The anti-Semitism, the forever wars, Hamas never invaded Israel, Russia never invaded Ukraine, the Houthis weren't bombing military assets in the Middle East under Donald Trump, and those are just the facts. I do believe that we'd be safer, the world would be better off, and so would our country and her people.
All right, Congresswoman,
it matters.
lot of toxic behavior going on right now in Washington. We're watching it, and we'll talk with you along the way. Thank you so much.